You think life is happening to you, but I'm here to tell you something that will change everything. Life is responding to you. Every single day you wake up and face a world that seems designed to shake you, to test you, to see if you'll break. But here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people have learned the most powerful skill on earth. They act as if nothing bothers them. Right now, as you're listening to these words, there are millions of people letting their day be ruined by something completely outside their control. There's someone getting angry at the weather, someone losing their mind over a delayed flight, someone destroying their peace over a comment on social media. They're giving away their power to things that don't even know they exist. They're letting random events and random people determine their emotional state, their energy level, and ultimately their destiny. But not you. Not anymore. Because today you're going to learn the secret that successful people have known for centuries. The secret of unshakable composure. This isn't just about staying calm. This is about accessing a level of personal power that most people never even know exists. This is about becoming so centered, so grounded, so secure in who you are that the chaos around you becomes irrelevant. You see, there are two types of people in this world. There are thermometers and there are thermostats. Thermometers simply reflect the temperature of their environment. If it's hot, they get hot. If it's cold, they get cold. They have no power to change anything. They just react to whatever's happening around them. Most people live their entire lives as human thermometers, constantly adjusting their mood, their energy, and their behavior based on external circumstances. But thermostats are different. Thermostats set the temperature. They decide what the climate is going to be. When the environment gets too hot, they cool it down. When it gets too cold, they heat it up. They don't react to their environment. They control their environment. And that's exactly what you're going to become. A human thermostat who sets the emotional temperature wherever you go. Now, I'm not talking about pretending. I'm not talking about putting on a mask or acting like you don't care. I'm talking about developing such unshakable inner strength that the storms of life become nothing more than gentle breezes. You see, most people live their entire lives as emotional slaves. They wake up and immediately check their phones, letting the world determine their mood before they've even brushed their teeth. They let traffic upset them. They let rude comments destroy their day. They let circumstances they cannot control them completely. They've never learned that between stimulus and response lies the greatest power any human being can possess, the power to choose. Every single moment of every single day, you have a choice. You can choose to be a victim of your circumstances, or you can choose to be the architect of your response. You can choose to let life happen to you, or you can choose to happen to life. You were not born to be controlled by circumstances. You were born to be the master of your own destiny, the captain of your own ship, the CEO of your own life. And the first step to claiming that power is understanding this fundamental truth. Nothing, and I mean nothing, has the power to disturb your peace unless you give it that power. Think about this for a moment. Two people can experience the exact same situation. Let's say they both get stuck in traffic for an hour. One person sits there fuming, cursing, honking their horn, raising their blood pressure, and ruining their entire day. The other person uses that hour to listen to educational content, to plan their day, to practice gratitude, or simply to enjoy some quiet thinking time. Same situation, completely different responses. What made the difference? One person understood that they had a choice in how they responded, while the other person gave their power away to traffic. But here's what's even more powerful. The person who stayed calm didn't just have a better hour in traffic. They arrived at their destination in a completely different mental and emotional state. They were ready to tackle their day with energy and focus, while the other person arrived stressed, tired, and already defeated. One traffic jam, two completely different days, two completely different lives being created moment by moment. This is happening to you right now in ways you might not even realize. Every time you let someone's bad mood affect your mood, you're giving them control over your life. Every time you let disappointing news ruin your entire day, you're allowing external events to determine your internal state. Every time you react emotionally instead of responding wisely, you're training yourself to be weak instead of strong. The psychology behind being unbothered is not complicated, but it is profound. Your mind is the most powerful computer ever created. But most people never learn how to program it properly. Instead, they let it run on default settings, reacting to every stimulus like a leaf blown around by the wind. But when you understand how your mind works, when you realize that your thoughts create your emotions and your emotions drive your actions, you begin to see that you have been the programmer all along. You just didn't know it. Here's the truth that will revolutionize your life. You are not experiencing reality. You are experiencing your interpretation of reality. Everything you see, hear, and feel is being filtered through your beliefs, your past experiences, your expectations, and your current emotional state. Two people can look at the same situation and see completely different things because they're looking through different mental filters. Most people don't realize they're wearing these filters. They think what they're seeing is objective reality, but it's actually their subjective interpretation of reality. This is why one person can see opportunity where another sees only problems. This is why one person can see a challenge as exciting while another sees it as threatening. Same situation, different filters, completely different experiences. When you understand this, you realize that you have incredible power. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control the filter through which you interpret what happens to you. You can choose to see setbacks as setups for comebacks. You can choose to see criticism as information rather than attacks. You can choose to see difficult people as teachers rather than enemies. Here's what science tells us about stress and emotional reactions. 90% of what bothers you exists only in your mind. It's not the situation itself that causes stress. It's your interpretation of the situation. It's the story you tell yourself about what it means. It's the catastrophic thinking that turns a small problem into a major crisis. Most people are not dealing with their actual problems. They're dealing with their thoughts about their problems, their fears about their problems, and their assumptions about what their problems mean about them. But successful people, people who seem unbothered by life's challenges, have learned to separate facts from fiction. They deal with what is actually happening, not with what might happen or what they imagine is happening. They respond to reality, not to the horror movies playing in their mind. This brings us to the first pillar of unshakable character, mental discipline. Your mind is like a muscle. It gets stronger with exercise and weaker with neglect. Every day, you're either training your mind to be strong or allowing it to become weak. Every time you choose to worry instead of taking action, you're training weakness. Every time you choose to blame others instead of taking responsibility, you're training weakness. But every time you choose to stay calm in chaos, you're training strength. Every time you choose to look for opportunities and obstacles, you're training strength. Every time you choose to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion, you're training strength. Mental discipline is not about never having negative thoughts. It's about choosing which thoughts you're going to feed and which thoughts you're going to starve. The second pillar is emotional intelligence, mastering your internal weather. Most people have no idea what's happening inside their own emotional world. They feel angry and they think they are angry. They feel sad and they think they are sad. But you are not your emotions. You are the observer of your emotions. You are the sky And emotions are just weather patterns that come and go. When you develop emotional intelligence, you learn to watch your emotions, like a scientist studying weather patterns. You notice when a storm is building inside you, and instead of being swept away by it, you prepare for it. You understand that anger is just energy that needs direction. Fear is just excitement without breath. Sadness is just love with nowhere to go. Every emotion has valuable information for you, but none of them have the right to control you. The third pillar is purpose-driven focus. When you know your why, when you're crystal clear about your mission and your values, most of the things that bother other people become irrelevant to you. People who seem unbothered aren't superhuman. They're just focused on things that actually matter. They don't have energy to waste on drama because they're too busy building something meaningful. Think about a surgeon in the operating room. Are they bothered by the traffic they encountered on the way to work? Are they thinking about the rude comment someone made yesterday? Of course not. They're completely focused on saving a life. Their purpose is so clear and so important that everything else fades into the background. That's the power of purpose-driven focus. Now let me teach you about strategic indifference, one of the most powerful concepts you'll ever learn. Strategic indifference is not about not caring. It's about being very selective about what you care about. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and like any valuable resource, you must invest it wisely. In today's world, everyone and everything is competing for your attention. Social media wants your attention, the news wants your attention, gossip wants your attention, drama wants your attention. But here's what they don't tell you. Whatever gets your attention gets your energy, and whatever gets your energy gets your results. If you're giving your attention to things that don't serve your goals, you're literally giving your life away. Strategic indifference means asking yourself this question before you respond to anything. Is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, then you practice what I call elegant indifference. You don't fight it. You don't argue with it. You don't even give it the satisfaction of a strong reaction. You simply redirect your attention to something that does deserve your energy. People will test this. They'll try to push your buttons to get a reaction. They'll try to drag you into their drama. They'll try to make their problems your problems. But when you've mastered strategic indifference, you remain unmoved, not because you're cold or uncaring, but because you understand that every moment you spend reacting to their chaos is a moment stolen from building your dreams. Let me give you some practical strategies that you can implement immediately. First, develop what I call the morning fortress routine. The first hour of your day should belong to you and no one else. No phone, no news, no other people's problems. Use this time to strengthen your mind, to connect with your purpose, to set your intention for the day. When you start your day from a place of strength and clarity, you become much harder to shake. Second, learn the 5-second rule for emotional control. When something happens that normally would upset you, count to 5 before you respond. In those 5 seconds, ask yourself, what response would serve me best here? What would the person I'm becoming do in this situation? This simple pause creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your power to choose. Third, develop your immunity to other people's opinions. Here's a truth that will set you free. What other people think about you is none of your business. Their opinions are based on their experiences, their fears, their limitations, their projections. They're not seeing you clearly. They're seeing you through the filter of their own life. Why would you let someone else's filtered perception of you determine how you feel about yourself? Fourth, learn to handle criticism like a champion. Champions don't avoid criticism, they use it. When someone criticizes you, extract any useful feedback and discard the rest. If there's nothing useful, discard it all. Don't argue with it. Don't defend against it. Don't lose sleep over it. Thank them for their input, and move on. Your success will be your best response to unfair criticism. Fifth, master the art of dealing with difficult people. Difficult people are everywhere and they're not going anywhere. But here's what I've learned. Difficult people are only difficult when you try to change them or when you take their behavior personally. When you accept that some people are going to be difficult and you focus on controlling your response instead of trying to control them, they lose their power over you. The compound effect of consistent composure is extraordinary. Every time you choose to remain calm in chaos, you're making a deposit in your character account. Every time you choose wisdom over emotion, you're building your reputation as someone who can be trusted in difficult situations. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you're becoming more the person you were meant to be. People notice composure. They're drawn to it. In a world full of people who are constantly stressed, angry, and reactive, someone who remains calm and centered stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. Leaders are people who can stay calm when everyone else is panicking. Success goes to those who can think clearly when everyone else is thinking emotionally. But here's what's really powerful about developing unshakable composure. It's contagious. When you refuse to participate in drama, drama dies down around you. When you respond to anger with calmness, anger often dissolves. When you meet chaos with peace, you become a force for positive change in every environment you enter. Advanced practitioners learn to turn pressure into power. They understand that pressure is just life's way of revealing what they're made of. Coal becomes diamond under pressure. Grapes become wine under pressure. You become extraordinary under pressure, but only if you learn to work with pressure instead of against it. The secret is to reframe every challenge as an opportunity to grow stronger. Every difficult person is an opportunity to practice patience. Every setback is an opportunity to develop resilience. Every failure is an opportunity to learn something valuable. When you start seeing challenges this way, you stop dreading them and start welcoming them as chances to level up. Living as your own CEO means taking complete responsibility for your emotional state. A CEO doesn't blame the economy for their company's problems. They adapt their strategy. A CEO doesn't make excuses. They make decisions. A CEO doesn't react to every market fluctuation. They stay focused on their long-term vision. You are the CEO of your life. And your emotional state is your most important asset. You wouldn't let just anyone into your company's boardroom. So why do you let just anyone into your mental and emotional space? You wouldn't let employees who don't serve your company's mission stay on your team. So why do you hold on to thoughts and beliefs that don't serve your life's mission? As CEO of your life, you get to decide what thoughts you'll entertain, what emotions you'll feed, what relationships you'll invest in, and what goals you'll pursue. You get to set the standards for how people treat you. You get to choose your response to every situation. This is not just a right, it's a responsibility. Create systems that support your mental strength. Just like a company has systems to ensure consistent quality, you need systems to ensure consistent composure. This might include daily meditation, regular exercise, weekly planning sessions, monthly goal reviews, or quarterly life assessments. These systems keep you grounded and focused when life gets chaotic. The freedom that comes from self-mastery is unlike anything else. When you're no longer a slave to your emotions, when you're no longer controlled by circumstances, when you're no longer dependent on other people's approval for your self-worth, you experience a level of freedom that most people never even imagine is possible. You'll wake up each day knowing that no matter what happens, you have the tools to handle it. You face challenges with confidence because you know that your peace doesn't depend on everything going according to plan. You interact with difficult people without losing your center because you know that their behavior is about them, not about you. But here's the challenge. Most people will never reach this level because they're not willing to do what it takes. They want the results without the discipline. They want the strength without the training. They want the composure without the practice. They want to be unbothered, but they're not willing to bother with the work required to get there. They'll make excuses about their circumstances, their background, their personality type. They'll say things like, I'm just not that type of person, or I've always been emotional, or you don't understand what I've been through. But here's what they don't realize. Every person who has ever achieved unshakable composure started exactly where they are now. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once an amateur. Every champion was once a person who decided to stop making excuses and start making progress. The difference between those who achieve this level of mastery and those who don't isn't talent, luck, or favorable circumstances. The difference is decision. The difference is commitment. The difference is the willingness to practice these principles even when it's difficult, even when it's uncomfortable, even when nobody's watching. You see, becoming unbothered is not a destination, it's a daily practice. It's not something you achieve once and then you're done. It's something you choose again and again, moment by moment, decision by decision. Every time you choose to stay calm when someone tries to upset you, you're practicing. Every time you choose to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion, you're practicing. Every time you choose to focus on solutions instead of dwelling on problems, you're practicing. And here's what happens. When you practice consistently, you develop what I call emotional muscle memory. Just like your body can learn to perform complex physical movements automatically, your mind can learn to respond to challenging situations with composure automatically. But this only happens through repetition, through consistent practice, through refusing to give up when it gets difficult. The choice you face right now is simple, but not easy. You can continue living as an emotional victim at the mercy of every circumstance and every person's mood. You can keep letting the world push you around, letting other people's problems become your problems, letting temporary situations create permanent stress in your life. Or you can decide right now that you're done being controlled by things you can't control. You can decide that you're going to develop the kind of unshakable inner strength that makes you immune to life's inevitable challenges. You can decide that you're going to become the kind of person who remains calm in chaos, who finds opportunity in obstacles, who responds with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion. Your commitment to becoming unbothered doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't start on Monday. It doesn't start when your life gets easier or when people start treating you better. It starts right now in this moment with your next thought, your next decision, your next response to whatever life throws at you. The life waiting for you on the other side of this decision is extraordinary. It's a life where you wake up each day feeling powerful instead of powerless. It's a life where you face challenges with excitement instead of anxiety because you know there are opportunities to grow stronger. It's a life where you're respected and trusted because people know you can handle whatever comes your way. It's a life where your peace doesn't depend on your circumstances, where your joy doesn't depend on other people's behavior, where your success doesn't depend on everything going perfectly. It's a life of true freedom, freedom from the emotional slavery that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. You are more powerful than any circumstance you will ever face. You are stronger than any challenge that will ever come your way. You are bigger than any problem that will ever try to define you. But power unused is potential wasted. Strength untested is just theory. Your greatness is not a guarantee. It's a choice you make every single day. Your response is always your choice. No matter what happens to you, no matter who tries to upset you, no matter what circumstances you face, you always have the power to choose your response. This choice is your superpower, your secret weapon, your key to an extraordinary life. The world needs your unshakable strength. In a time when so many people are falling apart at the first sign of difficulty, your composure becomes a gift to everyone around you. Your calmness in chaos gives others permission to be calm. Your wisdom in the face of confusion shows others that there's another way to respond to life's challenges. Think about the ripple effect of your transformation. When you stop reacting emotionally to difficult situations, you inspire others to do the same. When you demonstrate that it's possible to remain peaceful in the storm, you give hope to people who thought peace was impossible. When you show that challenges can be met with grace and wisdom, you become a living example of human potential. Your family needs this version of you. Your children need to see what emotional mastery looks like so they can develop it themselves. Your colleagues need to work with someone who doesn't add to the chaos but instead brings solutions and stability. Your community needs leaders who can think clearly when everyone else is thinking emotionally. But most importantly, you need this version of yourself. You deserve to experience the freedom that comes from emotional mastery. You deserve to wake up each day knowing that your peace is secure, that your joy is protected, that your power is intact. You deserve to live without being constantly pulled into other people's drama or controlled by circumstances beyond your control. Go out and show them what unbothered looks like. Show them what real strength looks like. Show them what it means to be unmoved by the storms of life. Show them that it's possible to remain peaceful in chaos, joyful in difficulty, and confident in uncertainty. Be living proof that no circumstance has the power to control someone who has learned to control themselves. The time for excuses is over. The time for blaming others is over. The time for letting life happen to you is over. The time for becoming the master of your own destiny starts right now. Choose to be unbothered. Choose to be unshakable. Choose to be extraordinary. Your future self is counting on the choice you make in this moment.